Of all the magic places in the world I've been to, this is where my heart is. Oh, you know it's true. No matter where I go, I'm coming home to you. Been walking down the street so many times, my feet know every brick and stone. Could wear a blindfold. No matter what I do, I'm coming home to you.
Hi, hello. Today I'm going to show you how to make twirly unicorn horns. These still have their ends yet to be weaved in, but I will go ahead and do that and show you. I have two different varieties here. This one is worked in the back loop only to give it sort of a ridged look, like a line that goes around it. And this one is worked through both loops, so it's not quite, it doesn't have the lines, it's a little bit smoother. I will be using an 8mm hook and some super bulky Hometown USA by Lion brand. You could use whatever your favorite amigurumi yarn and amigurumi hook is to get this done. We're going to start with a chain of however many you feel like you need. This one I started with a base chain of 10. I did not count my base chain for this one. I just kind of winged it. So it doesn't really matter, but do keep in mind that this starting chain is this circle right here at the bottom, and you work your way up the horn. All right, we have all of our necessary tools here, including a cup of coffee, because can we crochet without caffeine? Possibly. Should we? Definitely not. I am going to recommend stitch markers. You may choose to live boldly and abstain from the use. However, I find they do help somewhat in this. I recommend having one. See, I didn't even move mine up, but you will want one to mark your increases and mark your decreases. The stitches you will use for this are chains, single crochets, single crochet increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and a single crochet decrease, which is, a decrease. I'll show you when we get there. So we have our chain. I didn't count. It doesn't really matter how many you start with. I don't want to do too many rows. I want to make this quick, so I'm not doing a big one. So in order to get a full twist like this, where the indent goes all the way around at least once, you have to make at least as many rows as you have chains. So here we go. And now I'm going to single crochet in each stitch around. I've single crocheted in each stitch around. I'm going to do that one more time. So I have 2 rows of single crochets to start with. I am going to mark my first single crochet so that it is easy to find. If I can find a stitch marker that is not attached to the other ones. There we go. So I've marked that stitch. And let's go around one more time so I have a good solid base. Now that I have 2 rows of single crochet, I'm going to turn my work, because if you can see, this is inside out for an amigurumi. You have a little line on your stitches here. You want it to have little V's here. 1, 2 lines going upward, right there. So that is what we want happening here. So now our unicorn horn is right side out. I am going to increase in this marked stitch. 1, 2, that's our increase. And I'm going to move my stitch marker to the first increase, the first stitch in that increase. That is our new beginning of round. It's the first stitch in our increase. I have marked that. Now I'm going to crochet, because my increase is here, to this stitch here, and then I will decrease in this one and this one. Alright, I have arrived, and now I will decrease in this and this. So I will pull up a loop in the first stitch, pull up a loop in the second stitch, pull through all the loops on my hook, and I will mark my decrease. So I can find it easy later. And now I will crochet, single crochet to my stitch marker. Now that I've arrived at my stitch marker, I'm going to increase in my marked stitch. That's 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and I will again move my stitch marker up to my next first stitch. And I will single crochet to the stitch before, oops, I lost my marker. I will single crochet to the stitch before my decrease. This is my decrease. I'm going to single crochet it up to this stitch and stop. Now I'm at the stitch before. I'm going to decrease in the stitch before and in the marked stitch. Pull up a stitch, pull up a stitch, pull through both, mark your new decrease. We're going to repeat that process over and over again. So we're going to crochet, single crochet to our first marked stitch, which is our increases, and we will increase, and then move the stitch marker to the first stitch of the increase, and then we will single crochet to the stitch before our marked decrease, and we will decrease in those two, across those two stitches, and move our stitch marker to our new decrease. I don't know if you've noticed, but our stitches are gradually traveling around the circle. They don't stay in the same place, because crocheting in a continuous round like this without joining, your stitches lean naturally and they gradually form a spiral. This is very normal. This is what they should do. Because your stitches form a spiral, you will see that this part where there's increases juts out. That jutty out bit will travel in a spiral, and this part where there are decreases folds in. And as the fold in spot travels and the jutting out spot travels, it forms a spiral like this. Now, how do we make the point at the top? Well, let's do, say, 5 or 10 rows. I'm going to do 7 rows in this pattern where we're increasing in the first increase and decreasing at the decrease to make our spiral, and then I will start the decrease. So you'll see here, I left one of my stitch markers in the same place and I didn't continue to move it up, but I did continue to move up my increasing stitch marker. So this is my decreasing stitch marker, and I moved up my increasing stitch marker, and you see my increases have traveled all the way around, so they are on top of where my decreases used to be. And that is a full spiral, one full spiral. You can continue in the pattern to make as many full spirals as you want, but that is how it makes the twisty. Okay, so I've just done my increase and done 1 crochet, single crochet. I'm going to start decreasing the girth of my horn, not the decrease that causes the twirl, but we're trying to make a point here. So I'm going to actually do 3 decreases on this round. So I did a single crochet, and now I'm going to decrease, and then I'm going to single crochet until I reach where I'm supposed to decrease for the twirl part, the twirl decrease. For me, I didn't do a lot of chains, so there is no space. These next 2 stitches are my next decrease. If you have a bigger around horn, you would just do 1 decrease, single crochet to where your next decrease for the shaping of the horn is, and then you will do that. Now I am going to single crochet 1, and then this is where my next increase is going to be, so I'm going to decrease these next 2 stitches. Now that brought in the circumference of my horn quite a bit. I'm going to do a row without decreasing the width of my horn, just the normal shaping. So increase, single crocheting to where our decrease is. My stitch markers are getting in my way. I don't actually use them that much. So here's my first decrease. This is the one I did to shrink the size of the horn. So I'm going to single crochet in that one, and then I'm going to decrease here for my shaping. My microphone died. Maybe I'll redo the voiceover for this. I don't know. Now I'm going to single crochet, I'm going to single crochet to my increase, which is that stitch, and then here I am for my increase again. I'm going to do another row where I do my shaping stitches but also decrease. So I'm going to do 1 decrease, another decrease, and I am not going to do, I'm only going to do 2 that time, and I'm going to do 1 more row without any decreases, just the shaping. So increase on the first stitch. As you can see, I have begun to completely ignore my stitch markers as I usually do. This is my, okay, here we go. We'll do my shaping decrease here to continue making our spiral. And now I am back at the beginning of my round. This is where my increase would be. What I'm going to do here at this point, I'm just going to decrease all the way around. I am not doing the shaping increases anymore. I am beginning to close up the horn. So I'm just going to start decreasing, which it gets a little tricky here to do because you don't have a lot of room to wiggle your hook around and get it in those stitches. So once you do that, okay, as I said, it is a little challenging at this point. There we go. I'm going to call her done. And this one's a little bit shorter than my other ones, but you know, time. So there it is, a nice twirly horn. I'm going to cut my string and weave in the ends. You can see there's some big holes with the decrease here. That's because I used a big hook. I should have used a smaller hook if I wanted to actually stuff this. And if you stuff it, it will hold its shape much better. But it's very important to use small stitches and a small hook to get a really tight stitches so that you don't have any of those gaps on the decreases. Again, for a variation on this, you could instead work each stitch in the back loop only, and that gives it that kind of a line that spirals around the horn, which is really interesting. Well, I now have 3 little twirly unicorn horns that I don't know what I'm doing with. To finish these off, I'm going to take out my stitch markers. Obviously don't need those anymore. And I will weave in the ends at the top, which is a really simple process. You're like, well, how do you weave in the end with this little... Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's weave in the end at the top. I'm going to put it in my yarn needle. This is a pretty big one because I'm using a thick yarn. It's still not thick enough. Let's twist this and make a smaller little piece of yarn here. Here we go. Shoop doop. There we go. And I'm just going to make a little couple of stitches here to close up whatever little hole might be left at the top of this horn. You won't even see it when it's done. And then I will just stick it back down through and just pull it, the tail through the horn like this. And there you go. And that's how you weave in the end. I'm going to trim off. I do not have my nice scissors with me. I just have my kitchen scissors up here right now. These ones are pretty sharp. My good scissors are downstairs. There we go. And so it is all weaved in, and that's what it looks like. And you should start with a longer tail, or you can use a different yarn entirely if you need to, and you can attach it to, you know, headband. You can make like horns, unicorn horn headband, add it to a plushie. You could add it to those jellyfish and make like a unicorn jellyfish. Maybe I'll do that. That'll be something fun I could make with these. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed these. I hope you make some unicorn horns. If you do, tag me on Instagram. I'm at Rebecca Haas Crochet. This t-shirt, Maker of Happy Things, is in my Etsy shop, which is linked in the description below if you want to look for some really cute, fun crochet merch. We have classy stuff like this. We also have some really fun, cute stuff like yarn hoarding dragons and centaurs with tees and unfinished cardigans. You know, I think that was a fawn actually, not a centaur, but we do have centaurs. We like nerdy stuff over here, and we also like beautiful things. So I hope this brought you a little bit of joy. I hope you found this technique useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I will be doing more fun videos, just little techniques like this, learning how to use simple techniques to make interesting shapes and to take your crocheting to the next level. That's all. That's all. I am gonna finish my coffee, and I hope you are having a fabulous weekend.